thanking you again for today, joining us in yet another time out together, where we choose to take a look. I always use the word, a critical analysis, a critical look at issues and events as they occur, so to speak, and looking at how policies of government, social, political, and of course all that has to do with the change of the narrative in the political structure of the Nigerian state has got to do with what we will say. How do we say it, and how can we impact a change in all of these policies that tends to affect and impact the existence of the Nigerian state today? All of this we'll be discussing with a very special guest with me tonight. And my guest, well, you'll get to meet my guest when I come back after this break. But thanking you so very much for joining us on yet another time out together on Issues and Trend. We'll be right back after this time out. Well, so good to have you back. And my guest today, you want to guess? Well, I'm sure you cannot guess to know who my guest is. But I can rightly say that my guest, by all reckoning as I speak, looking at all that I have before me here today, speaks volume of this distinguished Nigerian who has made his mark in every sense of the word when we look at the import and the impact of what he has done over time. Well, he's a Democrat. There is no doubt about that he is a Democrat. And for that reason, he belongs to the progressive camp. And by extension, he's a member, a stalwart, a chieftain, whichever of the word you want to use, of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Nigeria. And by profession, he's a medical doctor. You want to say medical practitioner? Well, that's still okay by me. But he's equally a politician, an administrator, and a former Minister of Science and Technology at one time. That is precisely year 2022 to 2023. And equally a former Minister of State for Health in Nigeria. And by all standard, he was also at one time a former member of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS Parliament, between the year 2003 and 2006. He was one-time Chairman Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition. Besides that, he's also a distinguished senator at the time of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, representing then the Lagos East Senatorial District in the Senate. And he was also at one time the Right Honorable Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. And by a title he was given by the late King of Lagos, Oba Oyeko, as the Akpashe of Lagos, if that is correct. And as I speak, distinguished eminent guest, he was the former chairman of the Conference of Speakers in Nigeria between the year 2000 and 2001. Well, he was also described, very interesting to know, he was described at the time as the master of parliament procedures. How do all this fit in? This you get to know in my engagement with no less a person but distinguished Senator Adeleke Olorunimbe Mamora, the Akpashe of Lagos. It's a great honor to have you as my guest here today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
I was so elated, in fact delighted. This honor done me. Sincerely, I'm humbled, distinguished Senator.
Thank you very much for inviting me once again.
All right, let's take it from here. You have been described, or you are still being described at all times as the master of parliamentary procedures. How do you speak to that?
Well, I think it's an honor to be so described. I wouldn't know how that honor was conferred, but I've seen that in Wikipedia. Well, possibly looking at the modest impact that one was able to make while being the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, and possibly the modest impact made too as Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for 8 years.
For 8 good years.
By the grace of God.
That's indeed an achievement, so to speak.
we thank God for that.
Well, distinguished Senator, your coming on board today is not far-fetched. There have been calls by patriots in this country, and sincerely yours, not just patriots, but very elder statesmen who are passionate, who are concerned about the need to chart a new way, a new path for the for the progress of this country. And the concern and the clarion call is that we should, as we speak, appealing to the government that there is a need for us to have a new constitution. And the reason again they say is that the country not just only need a new constitution, that the old one, so to speak, will not take us to the promised land. You are an experienced legislature. You were once a speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. You've been in the Senate. You've served in different capacity. How do you respond to this, the need for a new constitution at this time?
Well, yes, I think my first or immediate reaction, is it desirable? I will say yes.
Is it desirable? You said you would say yes.
Yes, it's desirable. When? How? Those are the things.
When? How? Those are the questions to respond.
Those are the questions.
The challenges also to
Yes.
speak.
Now, when I say when,
So before you say when, you said it is desirable. Why is it desirable?
well, it's desirable because there are challenges in the system. It's not about that. We have challenges in the system as it operates right now. And what I mean, I say the system, that is our democratic experience so far has thrown up certain challenges that are yet to be resolved. And if I may use the term that when I was speaker and we invited Professor Wole Soyinka to address us, he titled that address, "The Unfinished Business of Nation Being."
The unfinished business of the nation being
being.
is loaded.
Yes. So, but my own understanding is that the democratic process or the democratic experience is a process rather than a destination.
It is a process
And not a
rather
destination.
than a destination.
Destination.
How do we differentiate that? A
Good.
process
Yeah.
rather than a destination. Two words here,
Yeah.
distinguished Senator.
Yeah. So that tells you that you keep working at it.
As a process.
Yes.
You keep working at
You
it.
keep working at it. And democracy itself is self-refining. At each point in time, you are confronted with certain realities that might not even be there before. So, within the context of the new realities, you may need to change certain things in that, process. And
Within the context of
Yes.
that reality,
Yes.
you may need to change
Yes.
some things in that process.
Because there were certain, there could be certain challenges that were not there before,
Absolutely.
or could be there, but possibly not accentuated or not so obvious. But that over time, the realities have been such that, look, we need to address this issue. That's one. There are countries that have been at it for over a century, 100 years. And you still have them having to tinker.
With some of the processes, challenges
Yes. With the new
This-
realities that they are
that they are
confronted.
confronted with.
Even America.
In America, that's correct.
Because America, as we know it, the bulk of our present constitution, which we call the federal constitution, we took a lot from American experience. Even America is not yet there, so it's not a destination.
Even with the present realities
Oh yes.
that we see every
We
day.
continue to work on the issues that confront the people as at a very given point in time.
And the structure of
And
the
then you have to work
on
with
itself.
So now, it may interest you that even from the very point in time that the entity called Nigeria came into being, some of our respected political figures of the past even describe Nigeria as a geographical expression.
A geographical expression.
Now, and in saying this, what did they refer to or what did they mean? It's because way back in 1914, when the entity called Nigeria came into being, what happened? It was the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates with the colony of Lagos to now form Nigeria. And between that time, which was in 1914, till 1960, there were so many constitutional conferences. The ones that really, come to mind for me, we had the Clifford Constitution, which was in, I think, 1923. You have the
Macpherson Constitution.
you had Richard.
Richard Constitution. That's
Yes,
right.
which was in 1946. Then you had the Macpherson, which was in 1951. Right?
Absolutely.
Then you have the Littleton Constitution
Constitution.
that came in 1953. Then you have the 1960 Constitution, which was the Independence Constitution. And then in 1963, you have the Republican Constitution. So you go, and it didn't stop at that. You know our history. No sooner we started, the Republican Constitution in terms of its operation than we had the crisis of 1966. With all the things that happened in the West and all that, consuming the entire country, and leading
The
to
geographical expression, if we must use the word.
coming to the military took over in 1966. And you know that has happened from that period, with Ronsi coming on board, having a unitary system of government, and then counter coup of July 1966, General Gowon coming to power, reversing the, I think it was Decree 34, so it's called then, which was a unitary, which wasn't what we were practicing before. And General Gowon reversed that to come back to what you can call federalist system.
Just what we can, but not what it is.
So, but even with that, there had been, even after that, with all that happened, recall after General Gowon, we had General Murtala Mohammed that came on board, and then in 1975 or thereabout, then of course General Murtala Mohammed was succeeded by General Basojo. Even under Basojo, when General Mohammed was there, he even constituted this CDC, Constitution Drafting Committee, to pave way for another constitution. All this post-independence. We had pre-independence era and have post-independence.
So justifying your statement that it is
Yes.
a procedure,
Yeah,
a procedural
it's a process that keeps on self-refining based on realities, new realities, and new challenges.
And the destination will now be where?
You cannot even talk of destination because
As we speak.
you continue to work at it, because there will always be new realities that will necessitate the need. But all I can say, because I don't want to keep on, but I'm not trying to
Give us a background.
the
to
background,
understand.
exactly.
That's right.
Under General Mohammed, he started the CDC Constitution Drafting Committee. When Obasanjo came in, General Obasanjo, he amended what that committee submitted. There were 22 amendments, but which people were not too happy, at least from some quarters.
About.
But it was on that basis that the handing over to the civilian administration, headed then under the presidency of Shagari, took over in 1979. No sooner Shagari took over than another coup took place. That was the General Buhari coup of 1983. And then General Babangida, and you know all that happened under General Babangida and all that, political bureau, then constitution, the constitution, there was a CRC or something that she constituted. They also made some
Still in transforming or looking for a formative or reliable constitution.
All these things were there. And then on and on
to the present realities.
You know what happened with MKO election that was.
But sir, let's
so the process is on, and come to even under Yar'Adua, there was an attempt to also address some of the issues in the polity, and then, as they say, the rest is history. And from 1999 to this time, from 1999 when General Obasanjo, came the second time, but as civilian president now, you know all that happened as well. But what we had from that time was more of amending the existing constitution
to suit the present realities as we face it at the time.
Of course, I align myself with what the patrons have said. That because people at each point in time always feel that what we have been doing is scratching the surface.
Scratching the surface.
That we are not
addressing the
concern. We are not really addressing the fundamental issues.
And to you, what do you think are the fundamental issues?
Thank you very much. I knew you would go there.
Before we look at the when and how and the destination.
The fundamental issues. One, the structure
of the Nigerian
of
state.
our federation. That is very fundamental.
The structure of our federation.
That is why people talk about restructuring. Why would you want to restructure if that structure is not effective?
Why do you want to restructure if the
existing structure is not
effective?
effective? So it's like you want to build a superstructure without a solid foundation.
It will not work.
So that is why people hammer on this restructuring, which fundamentally means that let us get the foundation right before we attempt to put up a superstructure. So that is it. And if you're talking about this structure, you're looking at the political restructuring, economic restructuring, social restructuring. So those are the
political restructuring, social and economic restructuring.
Now, political, we continuously have this agitation that why will, even though you don't have it in the constitution, the so-called 6 geopolitical zones, we don't have it in the constitution. There's nothing like that in the constitution. But we have come to accept it But the question, some people say that, why will some of these regions have 7 states? Some 6, some 5.
Another challenge to contend
So
with.
that's part of the political restructuring that people are talking about. And you cannot deny them, or you cannot stop them from the agitation. Now, there are some, you see, when you look at a state like Kwara, Kogi, they are categorized as middle belt. But there are Yoruba speaking people in these areas who have agitated that they would rather be part of Southwest, because Southwest is generally seen as a Yoruba speaking
nation.
So that's also part of the social structure we are talking about. And you recall that the late sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, did say in his thoughts on Nigerian constitution that, I mean, he advocated that the basis for state creation should be linguistic contiguity.
Linguistic contiguity. How do we
That
explain
people who speak the same language ordinarily should be the ones constituting a state, because language factor is probably the greatest, or one of the greatest factors that bind people together. As a Yoruba man, if you go to Japan and you come across somebody speaking Yoruba, it will just
Yes.
be, you will just be attracted to yourself
Instantly.
instantly. And that's one of the reasons why you talked about why Chief Awolowo, the late sage, and respected, and a thinker, he talked about that
Linguistic
linguistic contiguity.
contiguity.
So that is there. Then the economic issue is there, which is, look, what we get from a particular place, how do we, or the common purse, how do we share? You talk of revenue sharing formula, the federal, the state, the local government. It has always been an issue.
Of contention.
Yes. Then, I've just mentioned I've just mentioned restructuring issue, the political restructuring and all that. There's also the issue of resource control. Oil, gold, whatever, mineral resources. How do we? These are issues that keep on coming up. Number 3 issue is census.
The population.
Census. That, look, how many are we? Because from times past, some people believed, rightly or wrongly, that the census figures had been skewed to favor a particular
a certain
region.
region. That's correct.
Rightly or wrongly. So we need to sort that out.
Can we classify that as social restructure?
No. I'm just now. No. I have mentioned.
I know. I'm just saying. Can we
don't-
take this as that?
I have mentioned. Under restructuring 3 issues:
Economic, social,
yes.
and political.
But I'm leaving that to even go to that. That's why I'm
Beyond that,
putting that separately. Census that I mentioned.
Resources.
Then, of course, resource control. Then, of course, the issue of even the form of government. The form of government, that is, are we better off under presidential system? Some people still agitate for parliamentary,
As we speak, yes.
which we tried before. So these are issues that just prop up. Some people talked about, do we even need this bicameral legislature?
To
These are the
function.
issues. Some people have also argued that the parliament, those in parliament, they should be on part-time and not full-time. These are some of the issues. The election is also an issue. Election. even the nature of our election. There is what we call the, first past the post.
How do you explain that?
First past the post just means that it's like winner takes all. That, look, you just go and vote, whoever has the highest votes wins. It doesn't really matter that number of votes that if you may have 3, 4, 5 say presidential candidates, and then whoever has the highest votes among them becomes the president. Even though we have amended that to suit our purpose, that's why we talk of spread. So for us right now, you need to win the highest, that is what we call the plurality of votes, and then have a spread of 25% in not less than two-thirds
of the
of the states
of the
country. Yes. But there are people who are arguing that no, if need be, it should be that whoever emerges must have scored nothing less than 50% of the total votes cast to confer legitimacy. There are people who have argued that,
on that election.
And that's because in some countries what happens is that you go on until somebody, if there's no one having meeting up with 50% of votes, you will have a second ballot where the first two candidates with the highest and the next highest vote will have to go for a runoff. There have been arguments in that. So these are the issues.
We see that in America through the Electoral College.
Well, possibly. Well, they have
their own uniqueness.
They have their own uniqueness too. So we must also look at our own uniqueness. What they do in America is that there are states, that
the swing states.
They call the electoral states, where you they have electoral votes, and the electoral vote is more important than the overall vote. So you have to contend with that. So these are some of the issues that people that have kept on cropping up in our polity, and those are the things that we need to look at.
All right, you have accepted this to say that it is desirable,
Yeah.
and we took a deep into all of this analysis to come up with facts to expatiate and of course attach this relevance to them. But let us look at what you said. You said the question now is how and when. Now let us look at
Good.
how. How do you think, like the patriots are agitating, like your years of experience cannot be underestimated or undermined, and looking at your profile and pedigree in the competence of the areas you've served very capably, that today you are who you are and highly respected too as a man of integrity and honor. For you, how do we equate all of these scenarios we have raised to look at how, looking at this divergence of views, differences here and there, the how, and I mean the how do we
Yes.
how, the how?
You see, ordinarily, it should be such that, in terms of how, it should be such that you have a constituent assembly in place, ordinarily, who will now kind of oversee that process and ensure that the process terminates through referendum, so that at the end of the day the document produced will be such that can really, to all intents and purposes, have that stamp of we the people.
But the constitution already says we in the opening, the people of, and whereas it is not we the people.
That's also why.
And is a concern.
That is why people are agitating. That is it really we the people that have, put to ourselves this constitution.
Or who? Okay, we'll come back to that.
That is only to get to the importance of a referendum.
Referendum. Okay, let's just take a break there, and we'll be right back. All right, we'll take a break at this point. Referendum. That's where we're queuing out, and we'll take a look at that, analyze it as it is, and when we come back, let's see what it will be like after this time. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Issues and Trend, or some will say, oh, Issues and Trends. Whichever way you want to pronounce it is fine by me. But it's looking at socio-political, economic issues of our time, taking a look at government policies, concerns, agitation here and there, as it affects the corporate entity of the Nigerian state, and of course governance, democracy, and of course policy trust of where we should be at a time like this. And my guest still is distinguished Senator Adeleke Olorunimbe Mamora, a man of an outstanding pedigree, a man well experienced in legislative matters and concern, to so be called the Apache of Lagos, so to speak. I will always remember that. Well, let's say that it's good to have you, sir. Now, we stopped where we're looking at the issue of referendum, that there is a need for referendum, because when we look at that word, we, apparently the people, is not really indicating, expressing expressly that we, the people, truly are the people who actually brought to bear the realities of the present constitution, that we are not agitating for a new one. As we speak, plus minus, will the referendum be a way or the modality of the how to achieve the reality of what we're saying for the change needed?
You see, referendum simply means getting the people. It's just to say no or yes to a document presented before them. That's also what the referendum is about. But there must be a body to really convene that process of, leading to a referendum, which is getting the opinions of the people, distill what they have come up with into, let me say, put it or simplify it as to make it understandable to the ordinary man. And then each point or each opinion will then be put out to the people to vote on. That's simply what it means. And it will be the entire, population of the country that will vote.
We find out that even as we speak today, the issue of referendum has also been a concern, even where people agree to say that in the referendum this is what we want to do, or we have consensus to say that this is our position via this referendum that was done. We still find it difficult to see that the reality does not come to bear. And would people ask, why is that so? Well, I don't want to deviate from the discourse. I will have cited the Lagos State concern, where from the 20 local government council in the time of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Cuban president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I can remember vividly when on the field, there was a referendum where we created additional local council development areas. You can remember too. I'm sure you were the speaker all the time. So, and as we speak, the National Assembly is here to assent to give extension powers to the legitimacy of that entity. And you recall what Obasanjo did at the time. So I don't want to change the cause, but this is just to buttress referendum at times is not really it does not give automatic destined to that.
You see, the situation then was a different situation that we're talking about. We're talking about the federal constitution now. We're not talking
I know, I'm just citing that.
Yes, but you see, yes, we had a referendum. We followed the process or the processes as enshrined under Section 8 of the Constitution for the creation of local government. That's a different thing. We are talking about the
federal
federal
now.
constitution
Okay.
now, where we follow the process. Again, that's one of the issues in the polity right now. As to the best of my knowledge, no state has been able to create even a local government. And that naturally throws up the issue as to what really constitutes our federation that we talk about. Because even the Supreme Court judgment recently will appear to have compounded the whole issue on that. But I don't want to
On the autonomy of the local government. No, we don't need to go there. So we are looking at referendum as just, okay.
So,
are we saying here, sir, with due respect to you, sir, that if we can have a referendum as it connects with the agitation for the restructuring of this new constitution federally, will the referendum, will it hold sway when agreed to as the way out of the woods?
I'm not in position to determine that. I only put to you what the process is and what we hope to achieve. We cannot know whether we will achieve that goal until we have agreed onto it and then we have put it into practice. That is the truth.
Distinguished Senator.
I have only tried to let you know from my own understanding of what is happening, what we see. You know, that this appears to me that this is what, you know, people are talking about, and from what I've read, from what I've heard, this is the direction that people want us to go, so that we can have a working system. But having said that, let me also quickly add that there is no perfect constitution.
There is no perfect constitution.
There is no you always have, you know, but what we should work at is what best suits our own situation.
What best
Suits
our own situation. Yeah, but let's ask you.
know, it's not just about importing something and taking it hook, line, and sinker.
But distinguished Senator, by the grace of God, you were one time the Right Honorable Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, and your role in the Senate, from every available information that we know, shows how much you were involved in some of these procedural changes to make things better for the good of the people as it concerns democracy and good governance. So I'm just trying to hear from you at this point, distinguished Senator, that from your years of experience, and having agreed that it is desirable that yes, the need for a new constitution, but getting there is the concern. Do you think we can get there?
We can. You see, it's only a matter of how, because that was really going to take me to another issue. But it's a matter of how sincere.
That's another word now. How sincere?
It's a matter of sincerity. Put it into another way. It's a matter of sincerity and seriousness of the practitioners in the system.
Sincerity, seriousness of the practitioners in the system.
Particularly the political class. You see, when I say these things, I am consciously choosing my words. There has to be sincerity of purpose. And there has to be seriousness in approach.
Seriousness in approach.
Yeah. That is why, you know, we always talk about political will. But these are the two things that constitute the political will. Seriousness. Sincerity. If you say one thing and you do other thing, you are not serious.
Absolutely.
You are not sincere. Pure and simple, that's what it means. So, and look, the polity is not populated only by the political class. Because in the democratic space, who are the actors in any democratic space? It's not just the political class. The judiciary is there, the civil society is there, your area is there,
The media.
the media, the press is there. So everybody in the system has to play
A role
its own role
and
to
responsibility.
make the system. Take for example now, with all due respect to the judiciary, a lot of people are beginning to feel a little bit uncomfortable with certain pronouncements, particularly from courts of what I call coordinate powers, giving conflicting judgments. So how would the people feel comfortable? You know, you have your own role, which is even constitutionally given role as at today. The press, the media. You have your role. Everybody has its own role. But the political class within that system is probably the greatest culprit.
The greatest culprit.
Yes.
The political class.
Yes.
The greatest culprit
Political culprit.
of this cause.
Because what do you see now? You see a trend now where every governor wants to install his own successor.
It's part of democracy, they will say.
It,
Given the constitution to take charge.
it's not just that, but what has that given rise to? Desperation. That has given rise to desperation. So it's like a tenor elongation through the backyard. Because that is what you have seen now. As far back as 2007, I made a statement which I still stand by, that if care is not taken, a time will come when the whole of the Senate will be populated by former governors. So it's gradually becoming a retirement home
For governors, for former governors.
These are realities in the system we are seeing. And that's why I say, and because, when I say the political class, because that is the whole of the National Assembly is comprised of elected officials. That is, members of the National Assembly, House of Representatives, they are elected. The governors are elected. The Houses of Assembly are elected. So that's why I mentioned the political class in particular. And the laws made by these institutions determine what goes on in the system. The laws made by them are the things that that used to run this, even to the local government. The local government, the state, the federal. It's the judiciary that is insulated from election. So that's why I said the political class has so much. The level of desperation that we see is frightening. And that's why I said the major chunk, you see, if we so decide, we may not even need any constitutional conference again. We have enough documents on ground to distill from
As we speak.
as we speak.
From the present constitution.
Not present constitution. Look, I told you that even under Obasanjo, there was a political conference. Under Yar'Adua, there was. So the documents are there.
So we can distill
They
from
can
there
distill.
and make good governance out
That's
of it.
why I talked about sincerity of purpose
And seriousness.
and seriousness. If you just put those documents down, there are things that we can, filter and use them to even correct whatever lapses in our current system. That's the point I'm making. And I stand by that. And who makes this happen is essentially the political class. It's a decision of the political class as represented by the governors, the state, and the National Assembly members. So this is what I mean. And these are institutions populated by politicians. So that's the point I'm making.
So the submission would be, in all of this, taking what you've just said, if there is the political will, things are doable,
Exactly. And
it's practicable,
yes,
it's realizable, and it
yes,
is doable.
It's doable. And when you say you say political will, it's predicated on seriousness and sincerity. We must be sincere. There are a few things that have been even achieved in the past, but which we are not put into practice. How many times have you seen that electoral offenders have been jailed? On how many occasions? How many people have been brought? And you see, that may just take me to what are other issues that I just consider that are not right in our system. There must be accountability. Accountability is not just about how you spend money. Being accountable is being seen to do what people expect you to do for their own benefit. That's accountability. And which also means that there must be reward for good behavior and sanction for bad behavior.
There must be reward
There must
for
be
good behavior,
yes,
and sanction
for
for
bad
bad
behavior.
behavior.
There are people who even openly say, look, there is nothing will happen. So what that means, that encourages impunity in the system. When people have the attitude of
Nonchalant.
nothing will happen. I have seen so many videos on social media. The interesting one,
That's the interesting one, sir. That interests me, sir.
I saw a video where a criminal in handcuffs, at the back of the police vehicle, was telling a police officer, you better release me, I will come for you. Now when I leave, look, I'll be released, and I will come for you and your family. On the social media. You can see that
And
level.
that is dangerous.
Oh,
Extremely
so
dangerous.
we have to. These are some of the things that there's so much desperation, there's so much greed. And then we need to, you see, there has to be what I call institutional strengthening. We need
Institutional
we
strengthening.
need to strengthen our institutions. The police, the judiciary, the legislature, the civil service, these are institutions, because it's institutions that make up the system.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
These institutions, they need to be strengthened so that they can do what they are set up to do.
Without fear and favor.
Look, one can go on and on.
I feel you, Paul. I feel you.
If you look at our constitution even right now, simply under fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, that's section 14(2)b, it says security and welfare shall be the primary purpose of government.
Security and welfare
That-
shall be the primary purpose
That
of government.
captures, and the first thing is security. That's the other leg that I said when and how.
That's right.
The when there now is, can we be looking at restructuring right now when there's so much insecurity?
Distinguished, if I must let you go at this point, let's just give the pause there. We'll come back another time to look at that again. I must very graciously thank you for this rare honor to have you as my guest. and of course x-raying all of this discuss. Do you promise to come back again if that's
By the grace of God.
I appreciate
You know how you did it now. You just summoned me now. You just summoned me. So who am I?
I thank you. Your parting words, sir. What would be your parting words?
Well, my parting words essentially is that, look, the fault is in us and not in our stars. We can choose to make a difference as a people if we remain sincere and serious about our country. Nigeria is a good place. I've been privileged to travel far and wide, and Nigeria is highly blessed, not just in natural resources, in human resources. Why do Nigerians excel wherever or anywhere in the globe? Nigerians excel, and I mean excel. But back home
Is a problem.
So why?
We thank you,
Simply
sir.
because we need to do things differently.
We must do it differently.
Yeah.
I quite agree with you. Thank you so very much once again.
Thank you.
For having you on the program.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, viewers, that is just what it is today on Issues and Trends. Well, he's promised to come back, and I can assure you he will be back again from where we stopped, looking forward as to the when and the actualization of that reality that will come to bear in our time. We'll see you same time next week. Thank you again for today.